What wish do you have for me heading into 2024?
There is one and only one wish, that you get to see the fruits of all of your labor. That not in the pit of your stomach that you feel every single day goes away, because I think that you are one of the most successful people that I know, and I want you to feel that way. I want everything that you're working on to come into fruition tenfold.
Thank you. And I know you wish that, and I carry it deep. This has been the hardest professional year I've had since the year I got let go and had to pivot and go into recruiting. But I'm confident in what I built, what I'm building, the seeds that I've planted. And you and I always figure shit out in the end.
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, where I bring in the best and the brightest from the world of business, marketing, and personal growth to help you harness your inner tenacity and drive your career forward. Folks, welcome to episode 300. I was going to wear my Gladiator full Russell Crowe 300 costume today, but it doesn't quite fit me the way it used to. But this is video, unless you're only listening and you can't see who my guest is, but you would know because you saw it in the show notes. But I am proud, honored, and humbled to introduce my 300th guest, my incredible, beautiful, amazing wife, Ilona Babinsky Posner. Welcome to the show, babe.
I'm so glad to finally be on the show, babe.
And we are doing it live here in New York City, and it's pretty fitting to do it on the island and the place where we first met. And we'll get to that story in a little bit. But for folks who do not know who you are, aside from being my wife and the mother of our two beautiful kids, tell everyone professionally who you are and what you do.
Sure. I am an attorney. I've been practicing for over 18 years, which is hard to believe because I'm so young. I focus on commercial real estate, all aspects, including acquisition, sale, financing, leasing, for all types of properties, multifamily, condo, co-op, shopping centers, and everything in between.
So basically, we couldn't be more opposite as far as what we do for a living. And
don't you think that's a good thing?
I think it's a great thing for a relationship. And it's like you can have we have friends, two lawyers married to each other.
Sounds terrible.
Oh my God! Imagine the amount of arguing that would actually. I mean, we have friends that do that, and it's insane. Let's talk a little bit family first. Where were you born?
Okay. I was born in Minsk, which is the capital of Belarus, former Soviet Union. I came to this country when I was about 2.5 years old in 1981 and settled into Brooklyn first and lived there until about the age of 10. And then my parents moved to Roslyn, Long Island, major culture shock. And that's my trajectory.
Well, what's interesting about that is, I was born in Brooklyn, but we both grew up in Brooklyn. I moved to Long Island when I was 12. Ilona moved here when she was 10. Definitely a culture shock. Do you have any memories? I know it's hard to remember. I would think about what are my earliest memories as a kid? And I have these visions of our apartment in Brooklyn. I have certain memories of things that happened. Usually when I did something bad to my brother Ricky, I remember tripping him and he cut his head open. And I remember snooping around my dad's closet and finding Hanukkah gifts. And he got really mad at me. We found the train set that we actually have downstairs in the basement. True story, Dad. I think if you're listening, I remember that. But do you have any early memories of the old world?
Absolutely none.
Nothing.
It's actually bizarre. I don't know what it is, but I actually don't really have true vivid memories until probably first grade or so. Is that hard to believe? I think it is. I don't really have, I guess before the age of, 5 or 6, I really have no memories.
It's interesting. I think it's, as I said before, it's more like visions and stuff. Let's give a little bit of context here. because I think it'll add to it as how we grew up and our parenting styles. Tell us a little bit about mom and dad, historical, who they were then, who they are now.
Oh, gosh. So typical Soviet parents, for the most part, I think, actually, with a twist. So my dad, as long as I've known him, has been the hardest working person that I have ever met in my entire life. He had one day off, and that was Sundays. Every other day he was working. Vacations were few and far between, and they most always ended up in a drive to Florida from Brooklyn.
And talk about that van for a second with the beach chairs loosely in the back.
So yeah, actually, my dad
Dodge
used to have an Astro van. Okay, it had 2 front seats and a flat back in the back, and they used to put fold-out chairs, and we would hang on to the back of their seats.
No seat buckles.
Nothing. And that's how we drove. Yeah, it was insane.
Super immigrant.
Yeah. And, we spent the summers upstate in Monticello, where we had a bungalow with all, in a Russian community. My mom also worked full time. She was an engineer, which was pretty incredible. I got to go as a little kid to the city with her once in a while. And she was working full time until my youngest sister, who was 13 years my junior, turned about, I don't remember, 3 or 4. And at the time we grew up with Polish nannies, live-in nannies. And our nanny was going back to Poland, and my mom had to make a decision whether to, get another nanny or quit working and stay home with my sister. And she decided to stop working. And ever since then, she has been 1,000% devoted to her kids and her grandkids. I mean, she's got 7 grandkids. She watches every single one of them about, I'd say, 8 days a week.
Yeah,
and it's pretty incredible. So I have this strong sense of work ethic, as well as a super strong sense of maternal, nurturing family side.
And we'll get into it a little bit. And I think those are some of the qualities that I saw in you early from when I met your family for the first few times. And the funny story I always tell is when I met your grandma for the first time, I don't know, it was a restaurant in Brooklyn or some family event. And what she knew, but her family not. I love any mayonnaise-based food, any type of salad, and a lot of the Russian foods are things you wouldn't normally eat. The color is usually purple. There's textures and things that are not traditional American fare.
Oh my God, come on, it's disgusting.
For
anybody that's not
But the
Russian.
for the first time when I met her grandma, I woofed down shuba and all the other
gefilte fish.
And her grandmother looked over and she's like, Ilona, you must marry this boy.
I think she might have said, "Are you sure he's not Russian?"
and just for everyone out there, I'm Russian and Polish by blood, so it's definitely in the veins, and I love all that food. But I want to get back to your parents for a moment, and I think I do a good job of showing your parents are my parents are in Florida, and they'll always be number one. But I am blessed and lucky to have the most amazing in-laws, and I feel like I show them that, and I give them that, and I take that from your mom, especially, and how much gratitude I have for her and love, how much she gives to our kids and she gives herself, and from your dad, that work ethic.
Yeah.
And that's something that's always inspired me. And, I have such great stories and time with him, from being his assistant, doing work on our house, which really involves me just watching him and handing him shit from his tool bag.
Or holding a ladder, maybe.
Or maybe holding a ladder, or maybe plugging something in. I could handle that. But that's what inspired me. We talk about work ethic, and that's something that you have, absolute in spades. But there's this concept I heard the other day called immigrant guilt, where children of immigrants, first generation, second generation, feel like they need to make their parents proud. It's this deep thing. It's my parents made this sacrifice for us to come here, and I can't fail. I have to do better than them, and I have to do that to show them up. Do you feel that at all?
100%. First of all, aside from my own internal need to succeed, and that's probably part of my Virgo personality and part of just general, the fabric of my personality. But I I always felt like I needed to, they came here so that I could have a better life, and I 1000% needed to have and still need to have a better life than the one that they came from. Not the one that they gave me, because I think my parents have given me an amazing life, and they have set me up for success all along the way, both financially and emotionally. I have no school loans, and that's a pretty incredible and amazing gift to be given, right? To start off your life that way. But I agree with you 100%. That mentality for an immigrant to like succeed and do well and make your parents proud is like completely ingrained from day one.
It's in the blood, in the veins. So let's talk a little bit about your career story. So when we first met, and you know what? We're going to have a very open and candid conversation about it, because that's what we're doing here. I remember, like, and we'll get into our love story in a moment here, but I want to focus on the career part. You were working your ass off at a law firm. Let's talk about, we're going to take it back 2007. You don't have to say the name of the firm, but talk to us about that environment and the kind of work you were doing. And you were, how many years out of law school? 4 or 5 years out of law school at that point?
Yeah, just a few years out of law. Actually, not even. 2 years out of law school, I think, at that point. And I was working for a law firm, but really I was working in-house for a developer. And the developer happened to be an attorney by trade and had his own law firm that serviced his own projects. Before I get into the bad, let me give you the good. The good was that I got an incredible amount of knowledge because I was working on buildings, ginormous condo buildings from like the ground,
complex deals
from the ground up with lenders like Lehman Brothers, and really from going to a job site with a hard hat to preparing legal documents to sitting in on closings where you have these giant, massive law firms like DLA Piper on the other side, and you're this little attorney. So that was an unbelievable experience.
It was a trial by fire. We talk about that.
Yeah, it totally was. However, the person that I worked for made my life miserable. He was relentless. He was a slave driver. He was a chauvinist. Me Too hadn't happened, but, you just kind of, you're a young, pretty attorney, and you can imagine you're working in a construction site with, roughneck people, and that's what work was like. And, there was no room for error. There was no room for, a learning curve. None of that. So it was trial by fire all day, every day. But
that, as bad as it was, it hardened you, but it also, it toughened you up for taking some of that shit. Not that you should or you have to, but was there any point early on that you're like, oh my God, at that point when you're working for this gentleman, that you were like, I don't want to do this anymore?
Oh my God, absolutely. Not that I didn't want to do this anymore, just that I didn't want to do this for him anymore. But we all know what happened in 2008, 2009 when the real estate bubble burst.
And then it was time to look.
So I didn't really have a choice. I had a job, and I was holding on to that job for dear life because my job was in real estate.
And this is when we first met.
And it was. And how many mornings did I wake up crying, saying, I don't want to go to work today?
Yeah,
crying.
It was brutal. And we're gonna double back to our relationship in a little bit. But I should have first asked, out of law school options, why did you choose to go into commercial real estate? Was it had something to do with your dad being in the industry? What drew you to commercial real estate litigation? Transactional work versus another in maybe other financial.
So actually, I didn't start with commercial real estate. I started with residential real estate. For me, real estate was a natural fit because my dad was in, the construction world, the real estate world. My brother at the time was in the real estate world. It seemed like a natural fit. I knew right away that I didn't want to do any litigation. I wanted to do only transactional work. So it seemed like a natural fit. Coming out of law school was, it was difficult to find a job, and, they were all low paying. So I sort of stepped into that residential field. And I guess within a year, I knew that this was not for me. I wanted bigger. I wanted better. I wanted sexier. I wanted more money. And the only way to do that was commercial real estate.
You're gonna be slumming it in residential world.
You know, I mean, listen, not that there's anything wrong with residential real estate. I just wanted more for myself. And I was very fortunate enough that I got, fortunate or unfortunate, whatever the case may be, but I was introduced to the developer that I worked with by a family friend, a childhood friend.
Right.
And so started the story of my commercial real estate career.
So let's talk about your time over at Silverman, which is kind of like a big part of our early relationship there. That was a big girl job. You stepped into there.
That was a firm. It was a real firm. Yeah.
What were some of your key learnings from your time at Silverman?
So I think with Silverman, really, first of all, I learned that not all bosses are terrible.
And you could be treated the right way, and how much better of an environment it was.
So I really loved the firm. I loved
Peter's
working
great.
for them. Peter was an amazing mentor and boss. And, I really loved that environment. I loved the environment of a firm. The time I loved being in the city. That was amazing. Going to Park Avenue every day for work.
It felt right.
Yeah, it felt right. It felt right. It felt like, when you're in a place where you're
valued,
you want to do a better job. And that was my biggest takeaway.
It was great. And it was keep me straight here. It was, you could have stayed, but it was a time to make a move, and we moved out to Long Island.
Well, I couldn't have stayed.
No, and it was time to go. And
we had a situation where we needed to. I didn't want to be away from our kids.
Right, we need to go onwards and upwards. We need to go onwards and upwards, and came out to the island. And the first firm that you were working at, was it? Did you know it was going to turn out the way it ended when you started there?
Definitely not. I actually had really high hopes, and I really loved. I loved the firm. I loved some of the people there. I was working on real complex deals, big deals, and I really thought that this was going to be like, the place where I would be, where I would take my career to the next level. I was still an associate when I started. I really thought that at some point that I get to partner, progress up to partner, and really, be a fiber of the firm. Things don't always work out exactly how
What was the first sign of toxicity there?
I think the problem is that, for a firm to really succeed, and for you to succeed at a firm, you need to feel like there's some sort of succession planning, that the people that you're working for are setting you up so that you excel, because if you excel, they excel, right? It seemed more like a place where everybody was, working for themselves. It was about their bottom line.
There was a high level of greed, and it was like fiefdoms, almost like fiefdoms.
It was about their bottom line rather than, the firm as a collective whole and the people that work for it. And, again, I worked with some incredibly smart and talented attorneys. The bosses that I worked for are incredible attorneys, bar none.
Not the greatest people leaders or mentors.
Not the greatest people leaders. Exactly right. And not everybody's meant to be a people leader, and not everybody's meant to be a mentor.
Some people are better individual contributors. And I also when we talk about culture, that it's not just, pizza on Thursdays and beer pong and, happy hours, but when employees feel that they have a clear trajectory, a career path in front of them, a growth opportunity, that's a major part of culture. And they didn't have it at this firm, and it was quite the opposite. And it got to a point where I remember you wanted to quit, not just the firm, but you wanted to quit the profession. Take us back to that low point. What was that thought process?
So for me, I felt a little bit pigeonholed as to where I was. I wanted to be on the island. I didn't want to go back into the city. This was pre-COVID still. I didn't want to go back to working in the city. Our kids were still young. And I just felt pigeonholed in the place that I was because I didn't think there were other firms on the island where I could get the same kind of complex real estate deals that I was working on, at the salary that I was working at. And I just felt a little dejected. Like, I didn't think that I was going to make it to the next level. I think it became apparent that I was not going to make it to the next level.
There was a glass ceiling.
There was a ceiling. And, I didn't feel they were investing in me, and I didn't want to invest back into the firm either. I take some of the blame myself too for not having the best experience in the end. And then I started thinking like,
you kind of gave up. You kind of didn't want to. You were phoning it in there. I remember you were.
Yeah,
and it wasn't feeling right. It was.
Yeah, it was
a
just
downward
like
spiral.
a vicious circle.
And you knew you had to punch out.
Yeah, and then I started thinking, well, maybe this is the best that I can do. Maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe I'm not as good of an attorney as I thought that I was. Because if I was, then I'd be at that next level. Then I'd be where I wanted to be. And so I started thinking like...
It's defeatist.
Yeah.
It's imposter syndrome.
It is imposter syndrome, 100%.
And that's terrible. And for everyone out there listening too, like really evaluate if you're not happy in your job, but you're confident that, hey, I'm good at what I do. I know what I'm doing. Take a deep breath, step outside, literally and figuratively, and say, is it me that's not good enough, or is it where I'm at? And evaluate it, because life's too short to be in a job that you're not. And I remember the conversations that we had, babe, and you were like, I'm like, no, like this is your career. And then we started talking about like, what else? You're like, oh, I always thought maybe I'd be a teacher. And then you start to really think like, well, now I got to go back to school. I got to get this. And you're like, fuck that. That's just crazy talk. Did you think that your parents would have been disappointed if you decided to do that, or would have they supported you?
No, my parents would have 100% supported me. My parents support me blindly 100%. I mean, would they have wanted me to throw away my entire legal career? Absolutely not. But would they have supported me if I chose to pivot? Sure.
Right.
Because they're my parents and they love me.
So I believe that everything happens for a reason. It's not just a cliche thing. And right at the right time, this recruiter from the heavens came down, and it was almost too good to be true. Talk about where you are now, where you landed.
Oh, I'm at the best place ever.
Paid sponsor opportunity for Mord Hawk.
I am proud to say I work for Mord Hawk and Hamroff, LLP. It's a firm of 90 plus attorneys. We have 3 offices now, Garden City, New York City, Florida. We are a full service commercial firm, and I love where I work.
What was it during the interview process? And I remember this. I remember how excited you were. I vividly remember this from the conversation.
2 words.
What was it?
Succession planning.
And for those out there, what does that mean?
It means that the firm is investing in the next generation of attorneys that are going to run the firm.
Now, it wasn't just
and
lip
that's
service.
what they were looking for. They were looking for someone to fill that position in the commercial real estate department of my firm.
Did you think it was too good to be true?
Of course.
Right. And so you go into the interview process, and there's always some cynicism in the interview process for anyone out there when you think something's too good to be true. And of course it happens. It's bait and switch, or, mismanagement of expectations versus, actual reality. And companies do that because they're trying to get you in the door and sell you. And it's not always malicious. And most cases it's not. It's just they're trying to fill a role, and they're telling you what the vision of the company is. It may not always be delivered. So I remember this role came at a very good, fair salary, which was exciting too. 12, 13 minutes from our house. It was perfection, right? And you knew you still have to put in the work at this level, but it wasn't going to be the. I remember some nights when we were dating early on, you get home 9, 10 o'clock. It was late nights and weekends.
I worked 50 to 60 hours a week.
Yeah, it was nauseating. Like talk about an early stage of our relationship.
Yeah.
What do you absolutely love? And I've had the pleasure to meet a lot of her colleagues, and they're incredible, and they're just nice people. They're like people you want to hang out with, and that's important when you're working closely. And you've done more than just grow professionally in there too. But talk about some of the initiatives that you've taken on outside of your normal day-to-day responsibilities.
Well, first of all, I have to say that my firm thinks that going out and getting business is part of my job. they support that both from a time perspective, giving me the time to go out and do that, whether it's conferences or, lunch meetings or whatever else. They give me the financial hockey games, UBS Arena, the financial support to do that with my marketing budget. I've never had a marketing budget before.
It's amazing.
They introduce me to people that they think that I could have synergies with.
They brought you coaching. They brought you a biz dev coach.
Yeah. They enrolled me in the coaching.
They invest in your success.
Right. And it was a pilot program and not everybody got it, but they invested in me. And since then I now co-chair our women's initiative, which I'm super proud of. And I think I'm doing really great things for the women at my firm, both from and outside of our firm, both from, mental health, wellness perspective, from a coaching perspective, from a philanthropy perspective. And my co-chair and I are rolling out a brand new mentorship program.
It's incredible.
For our firm.
The other piece that I saw you really grow into also is the business development side. Because for as long as our relationship, I've always been the one out there, events, networking, traveling, going to all these things to build a business, and it's just never been like a real part of your job until now. Until now, and were you nervous about that part of it, like going out there and hunting? I mean, you are a relatively extroverted person. I mean, you certainly have introverted parts too. Was that hard for you to put yourself out there?
I think yes. It was hard for me to put myself out there because it was something that was so new and so foreign to me. And, like you mentioned before, imposter syndrome, like that's always in the back of, my mind. Am I really that good? Can I stand here and talk to these people and really sell myself and sell what I do? I mean, are they going to believe it? But you know what? I hate using this expression, but it's true. You fake it till you make it. I mean, I go out there and from an outside perspective, you'd think I'd be doing this forever, right? Like this is what I do.
Same thing with this podcast.
But I also feel like it energizes me and excites me and the more I do it, the more I want to do it.
Did you pick any of that up from me along the years of seeing how excited I would get when I would win business and my networking and how I would, I would say, go out and shake my moneymaker? Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted that. I wanted to feel how you feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I never I'm never, it's not like a jealousy thing. It's more of like, look what he's doing and he's so excited. I want to feel that excited. I want to feel that excited about what I do. And I know it's not as sexy or cool, but you know what? Like going to these conferences, and speaking to these people and hearing all these amazing women and people do what I do, at even a higher level, like that really gets me. Like I want to do that. I want to be that. I want to be at that next level.
Your journey, your work ethic, it deeply inspires me, and I think that's something that really whipped my ass in shape. When we first started dating, I was still working in marketing and kind of going through my own metamorphosis and downturn, and it was inspiring to see your work ethic, and it motivated me to work harder. And one of the things we're going to talk about in a little bit is this concept of lifting each other up. And I think it's critical in relationships to always be lifting each other up and growing. And there's no jealousy and not competition. Even healthy competition is fine too, as long as your intentions are good. And it's just been incredible to watch you grow and kick ass in there. And I couldn't be more proud of you. And there's always a carrot at the end of the stick. There's always what's next. And you've worked your ass off, for X number of years in this industry, and the next step up is in a position of quote unquote ownership and real responsibility with an organization, and you've earned it. And I am not going to steal your thunder, but I couldn't be more proud and just in awe of everything. And you earned this, and you recently got a little promotion?
Yes, I will be, hopefully by the time this episode airs, be officially named partner of my firm. Yeah, so I And
that's incredible.
Yeah.
But I do have, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And what did it feel like to call your mom and dad and tell them about both of the reactions?
First of all, I could actually hear the tears in my dad's voice. I'm sorry, Mama, but I called Dad
Who would think he would be the emotional one?
Yeah.
Your dad has changed a lot.
Yes, he
since
has.
the day I met him.
He softened.
Oh, he's so good now. He's the best. Your dad's a softie.
Yeah, no, I called him first, and he was just so proud. I mean, so proud that when I told him, hey, it hasn't officially been announced yet, so don't tell anyone.
2 minutes later.
2 seconds later, when I hung up the phone, I got a text message from my uncle, his brother, and I'm like, I call him back. I'm like, Papa, like, what's up? I told you not to tell him. And he's like, honestly, after you told me you became partner, I was so overwhelmed and emotional that I stopped listening to anything you said.
It didn't even matter. And I know how proud your mom was.
And, she was so proud. And she was
a lot
so
of what she does is for
me.
us because she's enabling us to be our best selves for our kids. And that's why she does it so unselfishly. Real important question. So when you eventually, in the next couple of years, become a named equity partner, is it going to be Mort, Hawk, Hamroff, Babinsky, or more or Posner? What are we going with there?
It won't be any of that. I don't think my name will be on the actual door because how many names can you really have?
Right.
But
it's like a trading places joke
it's
there.
going to be Posner because that's the name. That's my license. I changed it years and years ago.
We went through that.
Hey everybody, I want to talk about a product and platform that I absolutely love and our latest sponsor, Interseller, the prospecting and outreach platform of choice for recruiters and sellers. Whether you're doubling down on business development or recruiting talent, Interseller does all the heavy lifting of finding contact data, automating the email and follow-up process, and syncs all that rich data into 20 plus CRM and ATS platforms. Reach out now and get going on a 2-week free trial and let them know you heard about it from Adam on the podcast today. Check out the link on the website. Appreciate it.
So I want to shift gears and move into the next chapter of our love story. I think it's important to document it. And this is going to be a time capsule for our kids on the 7th day of November 2023. Our kids will look back on the 8th. Today's 8th. Sorry, G, it doesn't matter. I just don't keep track of dates. And they're going to look back on this and our love story. We both came from long-term relationships, a little bit in between. I just got out of a long-term relationship. You were dating around for a little bit. And the craziest part about us is I lived on 96th and 2nd, and she lived on 95th and 2nd, a block away from each other. And we were on the dating apps. We were on JDate. And I was messing around on there. She was messing around on there a little bit, and we started talking. But it wasn't a hit off right away, was it?
I think, well, the fact that you weren't trying to set up an actual date for like a month, you had literally almost reached your limit.
I can't even imagine that, right?
He almost blew it. I literally said, if this guy does not actually ask me on a date in the next whatever days, I'm done talking to him. I don't need a pen pal.
No, I don't. Speaking of pen pals, what was my name on JDate?
Oh my God, it was Keepa, spelled Keepa.
Chris, my producer, just spit out his coffee there.
H.
I'm a Keepa. And credit to Tommy Halleck for coming up with that one. I cannot take credit for that.
Yes.
And I forgot yours was just like Ilona.
It was something so vanilla and boring.
Yeah,
which
it was just
kind
boring.
of apropos about our personality.
And we did it. And I'll be honest, I delayed it because my dance card was full. I was trying to get my rocks off and just date around and like, you know, and she was out there, and I had we could tell dating horror stories on another, the one girl that went psycho on me when I took her to the, circus thing.
You took me there.
I took her after because I wanted to redo a redo because we had to leave 2 minutes into it. So I wanted to go back because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And that was another cool thing. I was like, no, that girl was psycho. I enjoy where I am. I want to take this girl here. So let's talk about our first date. And this for me was the moment there was a sushi spot directly in between our two buildings, and that's where our first date was. It was kind of like a last minute thing. Hey, what are you doing tonight? Like, let's go. And we went downstairs, and I mean, I saw pictures of you online and it was just stunning. I still remember your photo ingrained in my head. And I remember seeing you for the first time. I'm like, this chick's hot. I'm like, this chick's fucking hot. I'm like, okay, don't ruin this. And I wasn't as well kept as I am now. She definitely cleaned me up a little bit, just to say the least. And I remember ordering. I don't know if it was probably me who said it, to say, hey, do you want to share? Because you've told me this. You've never really had that experience.
Oh, yeah. No, my ex refused to share food. It should have been clear from the beginning why the relationship would not work. But he would not share food. And I was like, what? That doesn't even like compute in my mind. But we did.
It was a first meal. And I think breaking bread together and having that first meal and just amazing conversation, and
we had a great first date. Actually,
we hit it off and got a little tipsy, and then we went to the bars. I think it was called the Raven.
Yeah,
across the street, and had a couple more drinks there.
Yeah.
And then we went back, and you were trying to get me upstairs a little bit, and you were a little drunk, and then
I don't think so.
And then
that is not true. I'm sorry,
but I was a gentleman, and I remember our first kiss in your doorway downstairs.
Yeah, we did have a first kiss,
and that was it. And I went back upstairs, and I remember telling Tommy, I didn't necessarily say that I was going to marry this girl, but I said, she's amazing, and she's the hottest girl I've ever met, dated, kissed. And he said, don't fuck this one up. And he said it multiple more times after he got to meet you, Ross and Tommy.
Thanks, Tommy.
You didn't feel that way right away, did you, about me?
No, I mean, we had a great date.
Oh, God, this Jewish dork kid.
No, we had a great date, but you didn't, I don't know, fit the boxes of what I thought my boxes were completely. And I was dating other guys still too. But there was something about you. Where I wasn't like completely no.
But what was it?
I don't know. I think just the ease of that first date, like our comfort level, the conversation, the fact that it didn't seem like you were a game playing kind of guy. I don't know. There was just something comfortable.
It was, and we proceeded to go on a few more dates until finally we got to a point of being exclusive. I remember you went away. I stayed home over that New Year's, and I professed my love and made you my girlfriend. And as they say, the rest is history. But the early days were rough. I mean, you had to break me in a little bit. I had some bad habits, right?
Really bad habits.
Like what?
You were pretty like selfish, self-centered, you know? I mean, like from like stupid things like, you know, the way we like had sleepovers where you needed like all your pillows and like
has that changed?
Yeah, the pillow hasn't, but maybe now I have my own pillows. But at the time I didn't have my own pillows in your apartment. But it was just like, you know, you were very much a creature of my way, because people always gave you your way. And I was like, well, that's just not going to work for a relationship because now it's got to be our way, or at least half your way, half my way. You know, and then some other things, but I think that one stands out the most.
We had our rough moments. There was some times when, you know, we got into it early on, and there was moments I was like, do I want to keep doing this? So I want to continue it. And there was some times when like I was like needing to be housebroken like a puppy. And, you know, it worked because it's only made me better. And it's made me a better person, a better friend, better brother, better son. And I do thank you for that looking back on it. But there was definitely some early moments. I'm like,
right. And I wasn't trying to break you. Like that was
trying to improve.
I was trying to show you that you could be more and better than what you were putting out.
But you were also the complete opposite of my ex and other girls that I've dated. And I didn't know I needed someone like you until I met you.
That's a Soviet in me.
Right. Yeah. And I'm telling you, Russian women, Soviet women make the best wives. When you treat them right, you just don't cross them. And I learned that early on. And, you know, I wasn't a good person before I met you as far as relationships. I wasn't loyal and faithful at times. And I mean, I look at you now and I'm like, I never strayed for a second, you know? And it's like,
no. I mean, that part of it, I always trusted you. And also I think that, the little things, like that was your thing. It's like the tiny little things that show you that somebody cares about you without it being like this big ostentatious thing, like, leaving a cup of water by my nightstand every night, or, constantly telling me how much you love me or how beautiful I am or how much you value me or treasure me, or being a supporter. That was always there. And maybe that's what I saw in you that I knew, like, I needed, I needed your unconditional love and support to be the best me I could be. So.
And I appreciate that. And I knew early on, I was like, I'm done. I didn't want to be dating. I didn't need to be a player. That's not who I am.
No.
Right? Like, it's so much work and effort to go do that, and money and dates every week and all that. But it was like, no. It was like, I knew when I met you, I'm like, this is the girl. And there was no textbook on it. Like, oh, I need more time to get out there and play the field coming out of a relationship. No, I was like, no, this is the girl I want to be with. And we hit it off, and our families hit it off, and our families are so different, but they melded and meshed together. And friends too. I mean, I love your friends, and that's not always the case when people meet each other. My friends loved you obviously immediately. I hope I made a good impression on your friends early on.
Yeah.
And some of your early friends are my best friends.
Yeah.
And their husbands too.
And vice versa.
And, we introduced each other to different worlds. Like, there was parts of music and
that is like, I'm most grateful to you for introducing me to the world of house music, EDM, and like that whole, like all our friends in that world. I mean, that has really transformed.
But it's not just about the music of those folks. It's about the element of community and how much they care. And I talk about all the time. We are if you're judging real wealth, not by money, but by the quality of your friends, we are the wealthiest people in the world. 100%. And we have two tribes of folks, and now they intermingle and mesh, which is thanks to us and incredible. Yeah. But they're all a sense of real community and love, and it comes down to values. And I think that's another thing about us, that like our values were always aligned from the beginning, not just wanting to have kids, but like how we live our life and how we go through life, and how we just treat other people. And I think that's critical, in a relationship. And we knew right away we always want to have kids. We addressed that early, and I talked about that with a lot of couples, that is something that should be addressed early on, especially at a later age in life. If you don't want to have kids, I mean, that could change. But if you're not aligned, then don't waste time. So we knew right away we wanted to have kids and enjoy ourselves. So Harry met Sally. I surprised her with an incredible engagement. I knew right away. First we moved in together in our cute little apartment on the Upper West Side, which is still my favorite apartment.
I know.
We had a lot of fun in that place. It was like a mini land. Everything was like little and condensed, but we made it work. We loved it. Great. Except living above the Apple Store when they were building it, and our love grew. I mean, there was definitely some challenges early on, and we worked through things, and we learned how to live together. We learned how to love together, and we grew into it. But there was never a doubt in my mind that this is the right thing. And I faked her out with one engagement, which is tell a story there.
Which one?
The day before we moved in, and I brought you to. Oh my
God! So
I got some.
For all of you that don't know, I was already living with my best friend before we moved in together, and I loved living with her. And when we talked about moving in together, I said, look, I'm not trying to trade one roommate for another roommate. If we're moving in together, it's because we're taking this relationship to the next level. And, that means marriage. So if that's not on the horizon, then I'm not moving in with you. He's like, yeah, of course it's on the horizon. So we're planning, we're moving, and like we had already signed the lease. And right before we were gonna move in, it was our anniversary or Valentine's Day, something like that. And he took me on this date. We went to dinner, and he's like, oh, I have a surprise for you. And he takes us back to the apartment. It was unfurnished, and there's a blanket on the floor and roses and champagne. And I'm like, yes, this is the moment. This is when he's going to do it. Nope. And I was pissed.
She was pissed. And then fast forward a month or so later, one of our good friends got engaged, and we went out to their engagement party, and She got plastered. And at that point, unbeknownst to her, I had the ring. The ring was in my sock drawer. And she came home and just went apeshit on me. Why didn't you get engaged and I'm not? And
you duped
where the
me.
hell is the ring? You duped me. And I'm like,
but this was like, first of all, this was like our fourth engagement party. And it was more than a month later.
Right. And
it was like,
unbeknownst to her, I had the ring in my sock drawer. And it got so worked up that night that I literally almost went to the drawer, got it, and threw it in her face. Fine, you want to? Here's your fucking ring.
I'm a girl. I'm a girl.
Right? And I kept it. And aren't you lucky that I didn't do that? Because I think I love surprising you. I still think it's the best way to keep a relationship.
By the way, 17 years later, he's still surprising me. That is a fact.
And you told me you never saw the Pacific Ocean. And then on Valentine's Day, I was working at SiriusXM at the time. We both have a love and still do, rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain. I worked at SiriusXM. Anthony was in the studio. He had his new Leal cookbook. Ran downstairs. I was like, I'm going to get this autographed. And Danielle, who I work with, organized it and went up to him and said, hey, nice to meet you. What do you said? Anthony, to Ilona, happy Valentine's Day. Turn to page 10. Anthony Bourdain. And Anthony's like, why page 10? I said, Anthony, I'm going to take my wife out to California. I'm going to take her to the beach. I'm going to propose to her. And that's going to be it. And he goes, that's a pretty slick plan. Go. I think he said, don't fuck it up. That's actually what he said to me.
A lot of people in your life have told you not to fuck things up
Anthony
with me.
Bourdain blessed our engagement, and I surprised you. We went out there, and was that did I do well with that engagement on the beach?
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
Pacific Ocean, sunset. Like it was
honestly like the best engagement ever. I mean, I don't even know what you said to me, to be honest with you. I have no idea. But just the whole thought process. I mean, it wasn't just like a one-time thing. I mean, to get me the book and the tickets and and then when we were in the hotel and you're like, let's go upstairs to the roof for a drink before dinner. So we went and then we come downstairs and you're like, oh, let's get a car. And all of a sudden the doorman or whoever is like, Mr. Posner, your car is here. And I'm like, what?
No,
he didn't even ask for a car. I'm like, something is weird. And then
I remember going up to the bathroom in that restaurant upstairs and I was fumbling around. I had the ring in my pocket. I'm like, this thing is so bulky.
So awkward.
It was so awkward. And every guy out there and lady who's ever proposed, they could certainly relate on that one. Fast forward, we had a absolutely beautiful, it was one of the best weddings ever. People still talk about it. It was during a crazy storm, yada, yada, got married, honeymoon in Thailand. That was all good. And then it was time for kids. And we went out to Italy to visit our friend Jeppo, and that's where I say, not technically, but Nina is infused with the Italian food and olive oil and the sun, and I think that's really
our Italian love fest.
Yeah, that's really what made her what she is, and Nina she was a perfect baby, perfect kid, and she was amazing. And we're living in the city, and it was fun living in the city, right?
Yeah. We had a great time living in the city. It's one of the best times of our lives, I think.
Before kids, with kids. It was
all of it. 10 years total.
Together.
Not together, but respectively, I think we lived in the city 10 years. Together, we were
7, 8 years.
7, 8?
Yeah, we lived in the city together for a while. So I miss it, and we have the ability to come back now. But Nina was born there, and I always tell her, like, you're a city baby. Yeah. And it was an incredible time.
She's got street cred.
In between jobs, the first few months those first few months with Nina were incredible. Together, we were going out to Long Beach. And then we're like, shit, like, we can't all fit in this apartment. We were up on 87th and Amsterdam over there, and Columbus. Man, it really wasn't a tough, right? Was it a tough decision to move to the burbs? I mean, we had a lot of good things waiting for us there.
I mean, were we that couple that said, we're never going to move to the burbs?
I said it a little bit, yeah.
We both said it. But when it came time to move to the burbs, I think we both knew that it was the right move, and I think we were both ready at the time to do it. And I think it turned out amazing. It did, and it wasn't all great. We had a beautiful house and all that stuff, and then it was time for second kid. We always wanted 2 kids, and for anyone out there,
the act of conceiving a child and having a child in this day and age is it's a miracle to begin with. And we had our fair share of difficulties, to say the least.
Yep.
It was tough. We had, a couple of misfires, so to speak. And those were really tough times because it wasn't just one, it was multiple. And take us back to those. It was a 3-year period?
Yeah. 3-year period of, lots of pregnancies, but no baby to show for it. I think it was obviously physically difficult. I didn't feel like myself, didn't look like myself, gained weight and, all that kind of stuff. But emotionally too, it was like, how could it be that we could conceive Nina so easily? And here we are. And I had no idea that it would be a problem. And, it just continued to be a problem. And I had no idea what the problem was, and you feel like a failure. You feel like, why isn't my body doing what it was supposed to do? Like, is it something I'm doing? Is it something I'm not doing? Like, what's going on?
And how much of it did you feel was like us waiting? We didn't try immediately after Nina. We waited a little bit. Did you feel like, were you blaming like, hey, did we wait too long? Did we?
I'm sure that thought crossed my mind. We didn't really wait that long. I think we maybe waited 3 years. Like, that's like a respectable.
Yeah, well, less than maybe.
No, Nina was about 3 when we started trying again, right? Because she was 6 when Oliver was born. So yeah, it was, she was about 3 years old. It wasn't that long of a time, but I mean, we were older a little bit.
It was rough. It was really rough.
It was really.
You weren't yourself. It caused friction in our relationship. We weren't as intimate, and certain things became more of a task versus enjoyable, and it was rough. But I think that made us sure, because that could have broken us. I mean, there were some really low points.
Yeah.
And you were at your lowest.
I don't think anything can break us.
I don't think so either. And lo and behold, we said we're going to give it one last try.
One last ditch effort.
And
after some surgery and a bunch of other
magic.
stuff. Yeah.
And we were blessed. And one thing that I wanted to talk about, because I don't think people know this. So all the power to people out there that find out the sex of their kid. I mean, like, some people find it out like the second, they're like, oh, here, baby. Like, what are we having? We decided not to for both of our kids. We both truly believe that there's really only 2 true mysteries in life, 2 real unknowns. When you're going to die, and when you're having a child, what the sex of that baby's going to be. And for us, it was a no-brainer. We both aligned on it. It wasn't even like, we were both like, yep, yeah. we do not want to find out what our kids are going to be.
Don't want to know.
We did some
neutral
colors in the rooms. We didn't even need to plan. We got some neutral baby clothes. And the day my son and daughter were born, and there's crazy stories about those days as well, which I'll save for another podcast. With both of them.
We're not.
With both of them. We'll leave those. One of them. Remember, you should not eat a roast beef sandwich before your wife gives birth. For all the guys out there,
God, why?
But it was terrible. But this miracle child, number 2, came, Oliver, and that was hard for me because I was not in a great place, with work and pivoting in my career at that time, and it was tough going back. It was a 6-year difference between our kids, and for me to go back to baby mode and sleepless nights, that was not a fun period for me. Those early days with Ollie.
Yeah, and we were almost 40 years old, so we weren't spring chickens anymore, and we were tired, and we're working, and we had a house and another kid,
build careers,
and he
tough baby.
He was. He wasn't that tough of a baby, but I think it was a tough time, and juggling all that and sleep deprived and, and trying to get back to like, because we had it good.
We had it good. Those years
like
when Nina was
already
like 3.
no, but she was already like 6 years old. She was like self-sufficient. She'd wake up in the morning.
Oh my God.
She'd watch her iPad. We could sleep late. And now here we were not sleeping at all.
It was a real tough transition going from 1 kid to 2 kids 6 years apart. And I give all people credit in the world that have, Irish twins and, they get it done. They knock that shit out. And I'm like,
maybe that's a better way to go. I don't know.
Yes and no. But I mean, Nina is the most amazing little mommy ever. And she's like art.
No, they're thick as thieves. Like their relationship is the most incredible thing that I have ever witnessed in my entire life. Like
Siblings,
I can't
they're thick as thieves.
I mean, I cannot even believe the kind of relationship that they have, and it is magical. So for us, yes, that age difference was the best.
At this stage, kids are 11 and 5. What is Nina's superpower?
Oh man, Nina's superpower is her empathy. She's probably the most empathetic person. I can't even say kid because she has a level of empathy and understanding of people and human nature that is way, 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 way beyond her years. It's crazy. And I'd say also her confidence. She is confident.
It's insane.
Yeah. I hope that's part of it from us. Like I think we instill like that confidence in her, and we're good examples. But I mean, she blows me away, and everybody I know feels the same way.
Our friends like hanging out with her. It's crazy. She's just the most. I mean, she's my person, and Oliver. At 5 years old, I see such intelligence and brilliance and creativity from him, and he's like an old soul in certain ways. Like there's certain things about him. He's like no,
no. He's just wild, and he's funny, and he's so loving. Like he is. Yeah, I mean that part he has.
He's
to
a
get
Romeo.
From
also.
you.
He's a Romeo.
He
also.
Is a Romeo.
He's got four.
I think he's up to 5
with the girl down the street.
5 girlfriends now. 5 girlfriends. I mean, he's got a lot of love to give, and he is not afraid to hug and to kiss and to say, "Oh, mommy, you look so beautiful," or "I love that. I love it when you wear lipstick," or "You're so pretty." I mean, he's you in that way.
Yeah. How would you describe our parenting style, and what elements of that would you like? Recommend? I don't know, like what? Not even recommend, but like how would you describe? I truly think we are very successful parents at parenting. Yes, trial, learn, fail, try things. I am not my most perfect a lot of times. I think I have my bad moments, my good moments, but we're only human and we get tired. But like, what do you think makes us great parents?
I think we talk to our kids like people. I don't think we talk to them like babies or anything like that. I don't think we hide things from our kids. I think that we let them see us, our relationship. We let them see things about the world. We
love in front of them. We love each other in front of them.
We have music on all the time. We dance around. We have a lot of like family time together, fun time together. We give our kids space, love, understanding. I think that, we're tough also. We expect certain things, and we don't like
settle.
We don't give them their way. We we guide them, and we expect certain things, and we punish when we need to punish, or like give them repercussions for the things that they do. We don't let them get away with like bad behavior, but at the same time, we also apologize when we've done things that are wrong.
Accountability.
I don't know. I think we treat our kids the way we treat each other, and the way we want to treat, we want to be treated.
And it's about instilling those values. And I look back to how I was brought up, and my parents were pretty laissez-faire with a lot of things. They gave me like enough rope to,
more than
enough rope, and at certain points too. But I think that enabled me to live and not be overbearing. And I try to live that way. It's also a very different time growing up in the 80s and 90s, and now with social media and so many other terrible things in the world we gotta take care of. But my thing is, and people always say it, we have friends with older kids, how fast it goes. And we see our friends with kids that are graduating high school and in college and graduating college that are in our same peer group and similar age, and we're like, shit, like it really is going fast. And before you know it, they're going to be out of the house. And like, I mean, middle school orientation was a kick in the ass to me last week.
I know. I can't believe it. I mean, we have almost a teenager on our hands. It's crazy.
And I just think I genuinely feel we do a great job at parenting, and our kids see it and they see the love here. What would you say is the hardest part about living with me?
Candidly, how much you complain.
I'm kind of good at it. I take a lot of pride in it.
But actually, the stupid stuff I don't care about. But sometimes, like, when you complain, but also, I guess on the flip side of that is like your initial no, when I know you're going to eventually say yes. I want you to be like a yes sayer, yes, I'm going to try this, or yes, I want to do this, or sure, why not? Why couldn't this work? And your initial inclination is to always say, no, that's not going to work.
I think that comes with self-awareness.
And I'm the opposite, which is why it's so hard for me.
And I think it's something I'm trying to do more of. And I think that having self-awareness is one of the greatest things you could be aware of in this world. And I'm really trying to do better and be better. And
yes, you are.
I think it's more about being present too. I mean, I tell my kids to be off their devices all the time. And I think I'm really
your
trying.
Your addiction to your phone.
And I think that I'm putting it away, though, in times of us being present.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to make an effort for that. And I think we did a pretty good job. So before I bring it home here.
Well, what about me?
Oh, yeah.
You should answer that question, too. Don't put me on the hot seat alone.
The toughest part, you're obviously a pleasure. I think it's more like, I think it's more micro things, more like things that you don't always do around the house, things that like they're more about things that like I'm neurotic about that probably wouldn't bother a lot of people. Like leaving your contact lens things for weeks that I throw out.
I don't do that anymore.
Well, I do that because I throw them out all the time. And like leaving your clothes on the chair for weeks at a time.
Sometimes I do
but there's a balance there because I decided to not let those things bother me, and I just do them because you're doing so many other things, like for the kids and being their like event coordinator, social calendar, and there's a good balance there with stuff that we do. So I take care of that shit, and I keep the house in order. I don't mind doing any of that stuff.
And I hate doing it.
But there's a balance there. There's things I don't like to do. Like I don't want to be texting all the moms, trying to schedule pickups and shit, and you handling that's a balance. And I think we'll get into that in a minute, but it's about having that balance of things that we both like to do, recognizing them, and not having the other person do it.
Paying bills. We would have no electricity, no water,
things that pool would be brown.
Foreclosure, taxes. Yeah. If you didn't pay our bills, we would be on the street. I'm terrible at it.
And we do, and that's really what the balance is. So I had the opportunity to interview Tom Bilyeu this past May with my buddy Chris over there at VCon. Check him out. Tom is fantastic, and him and his wife have been together for almost 20 years. And he has this thing from a few years back. It's Tom and Lisa's 9 Rules, learnings from a successful marriage. And I want to go through a couple of them and just kind of get your thoughts on it. Number 1, be intimate often. And I think we really try to, there's been ebbs and flow in any long-term relationship, high moments, low moments, droughts, distractions. But I think if you make that a priority and have the physical love, it keeps a lot of the rest of it going. What do you think?
Absolutely. And I think that we can recognize when it's been a while, when there's a low and there's a dip, and like we'll look at each other and we'll be like, hey, this is not good. We need to change this around. And we do. We always do. And
it's a day in and day out. It's tiring by the time the kids go to sleep.
Yeah, but even that, there's still other things like we hold hands or,
cuddling in bed, even
cuddling or
even just
hugging,
a
kiss in the morning. Like there's never been a single day where there's no kiss in the morning and kiss in the nighttime. And that's, that's important too.
I will never end or start my day without that. And aside from just being intimate, I mean, it's kind of dark to say this, but like, if that's ever the last time I kiss you, I see you, I that's what I want it to be. And I do it to the kids too. Like, it's just a weird darkness. Number 2, communicate obsessively. I usually wait till about right when your eyes are closing to communicate obsessively.
Oh, yeah. No, we communicate. Some of us communicate a lot more than other of us. I mean, you are innately a share everything and anything everything about you, and I'm more reserved, and I keep a lot of things inside, but when I need to share, you are my person to share with. Wow.
Yeah.
And my unicorns. But.
Yeah. and number 3, we talked about before, lifting each other up. Couples should never be jealous of each other's success. And there's nothing grosser than that. And we always lift each other up, especially when we're down.
Yes.
But when we're up, we're our biggest cheerleader. Always our biggest cheerleaders.
I think so.
Number 4, be honest, especially when it's hard.
Oh, we're honest.
Yeah. That's something you've taught me.
Maybe a little too honest.
Radical candor, I think, is important in relationships.
Yeah.
Be a good leader and a good follower. Do you think that there's times when you can be a better follower?
Definitely. I'm not good at following at all. I'm not going to say I'm the alpha, but I definitely feel how I feel, and I need people to understand that, and I have high expectations, and if I think that my way is better, I'm not necessarily so open to.
Well, I think there's certain swords that you should not fall on. I think there's certain times when you need to pull back, and everyone too. But
I'm sure of it.
I completely disagree with that.
No, I actually don't disagree on it.
This is a really important one that I think is the death of many couples: is forgive mistakes fast. We've all couples have our down and out vicious fights. I think it's important, but rarely have we ever hit below the belt. Rare, I can only maybe count on one hand how many times maybe in our entirety.
Yeah, no, we
and
don't.
it was only our most lowest vicious time.
I don't fight like that, and neither do you.
And because I think that causes resentment, and that would just be a downward spiral of everything. Once a couple resents each other, it's hard to come back. We've seen it. We see it with people that are close to us, and there's no turning back from that.
But it takes me a lot longer to get over things than you. We could have a fight, and then the next morning you're fine, and I'm still
but maybe I'm not.
Fucker.
Maybe I'm just trying to move things along, and
But I've gotten better at resolving my own internal feelings quicker.
But we're not going to be perfect. Listen, I always say I'm not going to be 10 out of 10. You can't expect people to be perfect all the time. You make mistakes and emotions and tensions. This one I absolutely love, and this is what I thank you for, is holding each other to a higher standard.
Yes, I definitely hold you to a higher standard.
And I think that's made me a better person. It really has just made me. Number 8, we talked about before. Want the other person to win.
Always.
I mean, we're a team. Always.
That is a fact.
We're Scotty and Michael. It's. I think I'm more Scotty with this nose, but we'll get to that one. And last but not least, make your marriage the highest priority. And my thoughts on this one: our kids, we lead by example. Our kids see us loving. We love each other. We love hanging. You're my favorite person to hang out with, despite what you may think, because I have a bunch of boyfriends, right?
Yeah.
But you're my best friend. You're my partner in crime. And we have a blast together.
We don't need anybody else. We love having people around, but we don't need anyone else.
We don't need it. We really don't. Do you think there's times when you or I could make our marriage a higher priority? Or do you think we're a pretty good level?
I mean, well, I don't know. I think we absolutely recognize the need for our time, our adult time, our love time. And I think we do an amazing, amazing job because we have amazing support.
We built that resource network, though.
That allow us to do it. But we actually spent a lot of time pursuing our passions, music, traveling, eating, those things. And, our kids see that, they understand. I mean, when we're with them, we are with them, right? But they also know that there are times when we need our own time, and they give us that. we don't have the kind of kids that say, no, don't go. You're leaving again. Why?
But we've also made it fun for them.
Yeah.
When our
they
kids
love
are
their babysitters. Friends, sleepovers.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that's Tom and Lisa's 9 learnings from a successful marriage. Bring it home here. We're coming to the end of our conversation on the couch here in New York City. What wish do you have for me heading into 2024?
Well, so there is one and only one wish, that you get to see the fruits of all of your labor. That not in the pit of your stomach that you feel every single day goes away, because, well, first of all, success is not measured by money. And you know that I believe that. And I think that you are one of the most successful people that I know. And I want you to feel that way, but I want you to I want everything that you're working on to come into fruition tenfold.
From your mouth, babe. And this has been the hardest professional year I've had since the year I got let go and had to pivot and go into recruiting. And Nina had the accident that year, which I really didn't want to get into. And
how ironic that your hardest year has been my best year. Isn't that weird?
And
maybe it's like that because there's not room for both.
There's not room for both, but I think there is room for both. And I want to experience that room for both and what that will be. Thank you. And I know you wish that, and I carry it deep. This has been an incredibly challenging year. As many out there could attest to, this has been a fucked up year. There's just, you can't even explain what's happening in the world, the economy, media, and just society, and it hurts. And this has been a really hard year for me, but I'm confident in what I built, what I'm building, the seeds that I've planted. And you and I always figure shit out in the end. For you, I wish that you fully embrace this incredible promotion that you've earned, and you take your career to the next level, because it's going to open up these portals that I know you have inside. And there's no indicator and timeline of when you have to be, hitting certain milestones and doing these things. And this is your time to shine and grow and just be this amazing professional that you are. And to see our family blossom, our kids getting older. I'm excited to starting to do some real travel with them soon. For the record, I was fully against traveling with a little kid. I'm glad I did. And now we're waiting. That's one of the things that we've had point of difference on. And now it's too late, so I win. Wow. But I wish your success is my success. And I truly feel that way in our relationship. And I'm even when I'm down, even when things are rough, I know I'm successful because I have you. I have our love. We have our 2 kids that are incredible. Family health, knock on wood. We both have both of our sets of parents that are alive, healthy, and with us all the time as much as they can. Siblings that are for the most part awesome, and we all have that in our families. And we're lucky. We're lucky in love. We're lucky in friends. We are so blessed. And of course, there's things we need to work on. And life isn't perfect. It never is. But I think we're in a pretty good place here. So as I bring it home here, Ilona, what is the single greatest piece of advice you've ever received that you take action on daily?
To take time to enjoy the little things. We're not guaranteed anything, and we need to stop sometimes and really savor the moments that we're in. And I try to do that. I hope I try. I hope I succeed in doing that just a little bit every day.
And last but not least, you look back on your life and those really tough, down, challenging times, and we look back in that years struggling to have our second child, and years in shitty jobs and harassed and toxic workplaces, and there had to be something to pull you up and pull you forward. And when you had to reach down deep inside and harness that inner tenacity that you always say I have, and pull you forward and up into a better place. And on the inverse of that, when you sit here with love, sparkle in those eyes, and just gratitude for this life that you and I have created together, what is your lighthouse? What is your beacon? Ilona, Babinsky, Posner, what is your North Star in life?
You and the kids. Hands down, 100%, always.
And that is mine as well. Was that so bad? We did it. You got this.
Yeah, you got this.
This has been awesome. Before I sign off here, I want to thank everyone out there for sticking with me for 5 years, 300 episodes. My extraordinary producer, Chris Mueller, for 150 plus episodes, and really being the Chris Mueller on the drums. Really just being the engine that drives the show, and sticking with me and believing in me and riding it through, and really inspiring me to do better and challenge me and pushing me, and everyone out there. Thank you.
Oh, this is him. This is how he gets. You see?
Yeah, this. Oh. You know, I've thought about quitting.
Quitting what?
This.
The show?
Yeah.
What, are you crazy?
But then I'm like, this is my art. Like, this is my canvas, and this is what I do. And
yeah, quit other things. Don't quit the show.
So here's to 300 more episodes. And everyone out there, thank you for joining us on the podcast. You know how to find out more at thepodcast.com. Follow us on the social media channels. If this show resonated, leave a review rating. It goes a long way. Sharing means caring. Remember, be good to each other. Be good to yourself. Be better to others. And catch us next week for another great episode of the podcast. Take care, everybody.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.